Hello everyone again. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are kicking off my new series thanks to our current government administration called Down the Rabbit Hole. And the first part of this series is going to cover the history of the anti-vaccination movement. So, before we get started here, folks, my only disclaimer for this one is that you are going to see the link to what we're about to go through today right there in the description box. And the trigger warnings are, of course, as always, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and we cover dark topics like this, like horrific stories from places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, Agape Boarding School, Kennecook Camp, and others. So if you have a child 16 and younger and they are watching this, very much parental supervision is very much advised. Now, just a brief background before we go ahead and get into this. Pretty much one of the biggest oppositions, strangely enough, that I and other disability rights advocates have been pitted against has been the anti-vax movement. We've had multiple interactions with these folks, and I'm sad to say the good majority of them have been absolutely and extremely nasty. Everything from demanding our diagnosis paperwork to prove we have the diagnosis that we say we do, to calling our doctors liars, to tell us we're robbing their children, to being told that we're being paid by Big Pharma. I mean, yes, I have a nice apartment here, but obviously this is not one of the posh downtown flats in downtown Springfield, close to all the super expensive restaurants and amenities. It's a pretty apartment. I love the fact that it has 2 bathrooms, especially when you've got roommates. Just saying. But yeah, hardly the Ritz, right? But yeah, I've got a long storied past when it comes to anti-vaxxers, both as someone who's been a part of the disability rights movement and the neurodivergent rights movement. On the other end, confronted because my mom has been in healthcare for over 40 years. And when I tell you she makes sure, in spite of the fact that I'm 40 years old, that I made not only the COVID vaccinations, but the flu shots and everything else. Yeah. We get them all. And yeah, been attacked for it. My brother too, when he was working as a medical assistant for Mercy, yeah. Why I decided to go ahead and do this series was I was originally going to do it because of RFK Jr. Let's not mince words here. But it seemed like they were backing off for a minute, so I felt that I had some breathing room. But now, since we have literally our president, the President of the United States, quoting verbatim some of the worst anti-vax mythology, I thought it was time for me to, get over myself. And it was time to take you all on a bit of a journey through the madness. So that is the whole point of this particular series. Now, this is from the College of Physicians in Philadelphia. And when I say we're going through the whole history, I'm not just talking about the resurgence that happened and the early 90s, late 80s. We going way back. So let's get started, shall we? Health and medical scholars have described the vaccination as one of the top 10 achievements of public health in the 20th century. Yet opposition to vaccination has existed as long as vaccination itself. Critics of the vaccination have taken various positions, including opposition to the smallpox vaccine in England and the United States in the mid to late 1800s, and the resulting anti-vaccination leagues, as well as the more recent vaccination controversies, such as those surrounding the safety and efficacy of the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis (DTP) immunization, measles, mumps, and rubella, or MMR, vaccine, and the use of mercury-containing preservative called thimerosal. Alright, we're going to start with smallpox and the anti-vaccination leagues in England. Widespread smallpox vaccination began in the early 1800s, following Edward Jenner's cowpox experiments, and when she showed he could protect a child from smallpox if he infected him or her with a lymph from a cowpox blister. Jenner's ideas were novel for his time, but they were met with immediate public criticism. The rationale for this criticism varied, including sanitary, religious, scientific, and political objections. By the way, if you think that it's any different today, it's not. It's really not. Terminology changes, science changes, but the overall reason why most people continue to oppose things like this are pretty much the same no matter what part in history you're looking at. For some parents, the smallpox vaccination itself induced fear and protest. It included scoring the flesh on a child's arm and inserting lymph from the blister of a person vaccinated about a week earlier. Some objectors, including the local clergy, believed the vaccine was unchristian because it came from an animal. For other anti-vaccinators, their discontent with the smallpox vaccine reflected their general distrust in medicine and in Jenner's ideas about disease spread. And that is really big right now. COVID may have exploded it, but it's been lying just barely underneath the surface for quite some time now. There is a segment of individuals who just have an absolute general distrust in regular medicine, period. And you'll hear it all over the news. Big pharma, big pharma, big pharma, big pharma. To the level of the very similar big brother, big brother, big brother, right? Let me continue here. Suspicious of the vaccine's efficacy, some skeptics allege that the smallpox resulted from decaying matter in the atmosphere. Lastly, many people objected to vaccination because they believed it violated their personal liberty, a tension that worsened as government developed mandatory vaccine policies. The Vaccination Act of 1853 ordered mandatory vaccination for infants up to 3 months old, and the Act of 1867 extended this age requirement to 14 years, adding penalties for vaccine refusal. To give you all some context here, we're talking about smallpox. We are talking about a particular disease that has literally wiped entire populations off the map. Villages that have become nothing but ghost towns, literally from smallpox. You gotta get out of modern mentality and think about what the world was like back then. How many plague epidemics there were, how many multiple people died, how many towns no longer even exist because of things like smallpox. The fact that it absolutely decimated a lot of the Native American populations out here in the United States at the time. Keep that in mind before you begin to get mad at the government of the time. What they were trying to do is keep, whole entire populations from disappearing. Okay? Let me go ahead and continue. The laws were met with immediate resistance from citizens who demanded the right to control their bodies and those of their children. If that sounds familiar to you, what did I just say? Terminology changes, science changes, pseudoscience changes, but the reasons behind it all never does. The Anti-Vaccination League and the Anti-Compulsory Vaccination League formed in response to mandatory laws, and numerous anti-vaccination journals sprang up. The town of Leicester was a hotbed of anti-vaccine activity and the site of many anti-vaccine rallies. The local paper described the details of a rally. An escort was formed, preceded by a banner, to escort a young mother and two men, all of whom had resolved to give themselves up to the police and undergo imprisonment in preference to have their children vaccinated. The three were attended by a numerous crowd. 3 hearty cheers were given for them, which were renewed with increased vigor as they entered the doors of the police cells. The Leicester Demonstration March of 1885 was one of the most notorious anti-vaccination demonstrations. There, 80,000 to 100,000 anti-vaccinators led an elaborate march complete with banners, a child's coffin, and an effigy of Joan. Sound familiar? Such demonstrations and general vaccine opposition lead to the development of a commission designed to study vaccination. In 1896, the commission ruled that vaccination protected against smallpox, but suggested removing penalties for failure to vaccinate. The Vaccination Act of 1898 removed penalties and included a conscientious objector clause, so that parents who did not believe in the vaccination's safety or efficacy could obtain an exemption certificate. All right. Now, we're going to go through this a little bit here. We're going to cover the next part, but I do want to try to keep these videos short and sweet, especially with how long some of my other videos get. So now we're going to cover smallpox and the anti-vaccination leagues in the United States. Toward the end of the 19th century, smallpox outbreaks in the United States led to vaccine campaigns and related anti-vaccine activity. The Anti-Vaccination Society of America was founded in 1879, following a visit to America by leading British anti-vaccinist William Tibb. What is it about the pseudoscience lovers from Britain that somehow always gets over here and stirs up the anti-science nonsense? William Tibb, Andrew Wakefield, we'll get to him eventually, never fails. 2 other leagues, the New England Anti-Compulsory Vaccination League, 1882, and the Anti-Vaccination League in New York City, 1885, followed. The American anti-vaccinists waged court battles to repeal vaccination laws in several states, including California, Illinois, and Wisconsin. In 1902, following a smallpox outbreak, the Board of Health of Cambridge, Massachusetts mandated that all city residents be vaccinated against smallpox. Because, remember folks, smallpox had wiped out entire populations. That's the part nobody ever likes to remember. But as the history nerd, I'm going to be here to remind you with a megaphone. My mom will then grab said megaphone, take the soapbox, and then you're going to get details. I come by it honestly, folks. City resident Henning Jacobson refused vaccination on the grounds that the law violated his right to care for his own body how he knew best. In turn, the city filed criminal charges against him. After losing his court battle locally, Jacobson appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1905, the court found in the state's favor, ruling that the state could enact compulsory laws to protect the public in the event of a communicable disease. This was the first U.S. Supreme Court case concerning the power of states in public health law. Alright, so we're going to get to the DTP controversy probably next weekend, and we're going to go and get it and close it out here. Otherwise, we'll probably be here all night. So, Folks, we don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So if you could, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to hit the comments. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
Big budget TV series or what have you. It's all